A lot of people believe that it takes a long time to get results. But the truth is, it takes a long time to prepare to make a decision to get a result. And once you make decisions in your life that you're going to do something, everything changes. And it can change instantly. You can make a difference in your health by making a decision to start eating better and start going to the gym and start doing everything pretty quickly, yes or no? And somebody might say, you know what, it took me 10 years to lose, this weight and this. No, it took you 10 years to prepare to make that decision to do it. It took me 10 years to quit smoking cigarettes. No, it took you 10 years to decide to go cold turkey that one time when your kid came up to you crying, saying, hey, Daddy, I learned in school that, if you smoke cigarettes, you could die of cancer. And I don't want you to die. And he's crying and crying, and you're creating so much anxiety that pain of seeing your kid go through that was greater than the pleasure of smoking the cigarette. So you decided to change. Does this make sense? So hopefully this will give you a better idea of how to dominate that inner voice, because we are our greatest enemies sometimes. Sometimes we're our greatest strengths, but sometimes we're our greatest enemies. And that really depends on a couple things. So I want to make one differentiation real quick, and that's this, right? You have your identity. What is it called, nice and loud? Identity. Your identity. And then you are playing a role, okay? You're playing a what? Role. Okay, what does that mean? If you're at an open house, if you're at a what? Open house. You're playing a role. If you're at a listing presentation, you're playing a role. And is it possible that 1 to 10, 10 being the best, that you weren't a 10 in that listing presentation at that open house, yes or no? With that buyer, okay? That has nothing to do with your identity. Okay, what do I mean by that? Some people will let themselves get down because they didn't do good at something, right? They're like, oh my God, I'm not good at this. And they start talking to themselves, telling themselves, open houses don't work. Maybe I'm just not a good real estate agent. Maybe I just can't be successful at this or whatever. Your role in whatever it is that you do is very different than your identity. And what we need to work on is not just our role, is our identity. And if I teach you how to do an open house better, or give you better marketing materials and a step-by-step process to do a listing presentation, will your role numbers go up? Yeah, it's believing in your identity. So it's believing that you're a 10. It's believing that you're a 10 because of whatever it is that you want to accomplish, that you're not going to let anything stop you from doing that. But you have to have your own inner talk, that inner voice. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I say the inner voice? That little voice inside your head? Yeah? Okay, cool. That little voice inside your head, what is it telling you? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's what? Right. And when it's bad, we have to learn to release those thoughts. We have to learn to let those things go. And we have to focus on our identity. So if I were to ask you from 1 to 10 what your identity is, right? What your capabilities are, what you can accomplish, and you say a 5, you will never exceed your own self-concept. Your results, your what? Results. Will never exceed your own self-concept. You can't. You can't exceed your own self-concept, what you believe you can achieve, right? Not too many people go, oh my God, I surprised myself. I made $1 million this year. Like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. That doesn't happen. Are you guys with me? How many of you know what I'm talking about here? It has to be purposeful. And a lot of people are like, they say things like luck, right? They say things like, if, but, if only things were like this, I could have done that. And the key is to understanding that your responsibility is to hold yourself accountable. To hold yourself what? Accountable. Okay, that's how you control that voice inside your head. Okay, it's accountability. See, your mind, okay, your mind is made up of 2 things. How many things? 2. Turn to the person next to you, give them a high five and say, pay attention. Okay. Okay, you have your conscious mind and you have your subconscious mind. Okay? The things that you do consciously are a very small percentage. Okay? How many of you have ever been driving your car home and then you get home and you're like, oh, what happened? How many of you know what I'm talking about? You were driving what? Were your eyes closed? Okay. Do you guys have to tell your brain to breathe? What does that happen? What happens? You live most of your life subconsciously. And what we need to understand is that your habits, your thinking habits, how you think, what you think about is subconscious. That leads to your actions, right? You have your story. You have your what? Story. Right? You have your state. And then you have your strategy. This is really important to understand. So, okay, your state, okay, your story controls your state. What does that mean? The story that I tell myself about what I can achieve, my identity, okay, my story, okay, has a lot to do with how I am. If I'm telling myself a sad story about my life, about where I am, I'm going to be what? Sad. I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to be anxious, right? Your story will control your state. The story that you tell yourself. If you tell yourself, no, I'm better than this, I can do better, or you get up in the morning, you don't hit the snooze, right? Because your identity is a 10 and you're like, no, I'm not going to let another day go by. My role at the gym wasn't a 10 yesterday, but I'm going to be a 10 today because I know that's my identity. I know I am a 10. I know I can do 10 times better than what I've been doing, but just because I haven't been doing it doesn't mean that I can't do it now. How many of you know that this is possible to completely change your mind frame and go from not being the best version of yourself to being the best version of yourself because you hold yourself accountable to that? Say, oh yeah. Has anybody ever done that before? Okay. See, the way that you believe things, the reason I ask you that, the reason you believe things is because you have references to that belief, okay? If somebody believes that they're an ugly person or they're not attractive, they have references to believe that. It's because people have told them that. It's because they've been programmed because of magazines and TV and, oh, that person's beautiful and I don't look like that person, so I must not be beautiful, meaning there's references. But then if they have a spouse in their life that tells them how beautiful they are and they tell them why they're so beautiful and how amazing of a person that they are, then they have new references. And now sometimes it starts building their confidence and vice versa. Somebody could think they're beautiful and then they have a spouse that's verbally abusing them in a negative way and then they lose those references, they have new references and now they think they're bad. Now they think they're ugly. Now they think that they're not worth anything. And the same thing happens with kids. And what everybody needs to understand here is that your subconscious, your what? Your subconscious is made up of your entire life, of people's opinions, and people's things that they've said to you that you don't even remember consciously. And a lot of your decisions that you're making and the results that you're getting have a lot to do with your subconscious mind. So you need to reframe that subconscious mind, which you can. It's not hard, it's just being self-aware. See, the most beautiful thing about human beings compared to anything, any other animal or anything is that we can see the connection between things. We can see that I was sad because of this. Are you guys with me? Right? I'm going to work because I need to pay my bills. I need to do that, right? A bumblebee, if you think about a bumblebee, what do? Anybody know what a bumblebee does? They go into the flower. Why do they go to the flower? Okay, they pollinize, but why do they go to the flower? To get nectar, so they can make their honey. It starts with an H. What is it? Honey, right? Why? Because they need that to survive. They need honey to survive. Okay, but why do they say if the bee disappears from planet Earth, we're all going to die? Why do they say that? Because bees, okay, unlike any other species, okay, will cross-pollinate. Because of their hairy legs, they get all the pollen that's in all the flowers and they cross-pollinate all the other, plants and trees and all this stuff, and that's where things grow from. Are you guys with me? Now, the purpose of the bee, the purpose of the what? Bee. Is to get nectar, to be able to get honey. Are you with me? Yeah. Do you think that the bee knows that if we didn't have the bee and they didn't cross-pollinate, that we wouldn't exist? No, the bee has no fucking clue. It's like, and I know he doesn't have a clue because when he feels like he's under attack, he stings you and then he dies. And if you had a higher purpose, he wouldn't sting you. He'd be like, I'm out. I got to go save the world. Am I right? Yes or no? He'd be like, I'm bigger than you. Right? Humans can make that connection. So why do we, just like bees go to the flower to make honey, we are money bees. We go to work to make money. Yes or no? You know, we go to make money, but what is the ripple effect? If a bee has a purpose, are you going to tell me you don't have a purpose? I mean, how can a bee have a purpose but us not have a purpose when we can make the connection? Whatever higher power you believe in, whether it be God or some sort of spirit or whatever it is, I mean, you have to believe that we're not here just to be money bees, just to go to work and make money and then come back and pay the bills and pay the government. And are you guys all with me? There has to be something more to that. This isn't just about feeding the economy. It's much greater than that. And as a human being, you need to realize that, right? Because that's why you're a human. That's what differentiates you from the bee, is that you can realize that you matter. You can realize that you can make an impact, that you have a much, much larger ripple effect than you even understand or even know that you're having on the world. And when you're purposeful about that, when you're purposeful in making an impact, the money will follow. The money will what? The money will follow, right? When you have that seek to serve mentality, right? I know that me doing this, the money will follow. Are you guys with me? By me teaching at NJ, by me doing a video, by me, you know, doing the things that I do, I know that the money is going to come back in one way or another because I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because I'm not just chasing money. I'm doing more than that. I'm making ripples in a positive way. Are you making ripples? Do you want to make ripples? And if so, just remember that, you know, whatever story you're telling yourself about who you are, where you come from, what you're capable of, right? It's maybe bigger than the story that you're telling yourself. You know, the story that you tell yourself is going to depend on your state, and your state, right? How you feel about things, right? How you act, your emotional state, your physical state, right? The energy, right? Everything does, you know, everything is energy. Yes or no? Everything is energy. What kind of energy do you bring? What kind of energy do you bring into a transaction, into, you know, at home when you get home? What kind of energy are you bringing, right? What kind of state are you in, right? I'll tell you another example of the subconscious thing so we can like really drive it home. Let's say somebody fucking hates their job. They hate their job, right? But they can't express that at their job, can they? No. So where do they express it? Home. That's right. They come home and now they see their spouse and they're miserable and they're mad and they're taking it out, right? Maybe not like, you know, in a physical sense, but like verbally, right? And there's an anchor there that they don't even realize is happening. They might get mad at their spouse when they're not mad because there's a trigger that every time they see them 5-6 days a week, they're coming home, they're mad, you know, and their spouse is like, whatever, like, I'm sick of it. At a certain point, you just get sick of it, right? And now there's a negative anchor to their spouse. Is their spouse the problem? That's a negative association that person is making subconsciously. And we have to realize when we make false, right, interpretations that, you know, just they're not true, okay? If you're a baby, right? If you're a what? Baby. You're a baby. You don't have any references yet, so you don't know what to believe, okay? If I'm on a couch, Tony Robbins gives this example, okay? If I'm on a couch and I'm a baby, right, and I'm walking towards the edge, do I know that I'm going to fall off the edge and get hurt? Why? Because I don't have any what? Starts with an R. I don't have any references that if I fall off, I'm going to get hurt. So I fall off. That's what babies do, right? They go to the outlet. They, you know, put their hands in it, right? And until they get shocked, they're not going to have any reference not to do it anymore. But when that baby falls off the couch, you know what they might make a negative association to? Couches. Now you go to put the baby on the couch. What's wrong with you? Couches aren't that dangerous as long as you don't crawl off. Are you guys with me? But they might make a negative association. Just like somebody might make a negative association to their spouse because they see them all the time when they're negative, right? And that's why they also have to have happy times so they can have different references. But sometimes a long time goes before that person ever smiles or is really happy or whatever, and they don't have now those other references. And what you need to understand is that most of your life, most of it, 80, 90% of your life is driven by your decisions. And your decisions are driven by your state. And your state is driven by your story. And your story is your identity. And your identity is subconscious. most of it is subconscious. Are you guys with me? By just knowing that, you just became a little more conscious. By just knowing that most of my life, and that these references that are happening, right? And maybe I'm acting a certain way because of this, not because of who you really are. Are you getting to what I'm saying? See, your results might not be a reflection of who you really are. And it's because of the stories and our references, our belief. Is it true that sometimes we must believe before we've had any references? That's called faith. That's called what? Faith. You have to have faith in yourself. Are you guys with me? You have to have faith that you can do it because you know that somebody else has done it. Maybe you don't know that person, but please tell me that we know that people have already achieved what we want to achieve, yes? Is that a reference? Are you seeking that reference out? Have we seen Michelle be an example of that? Right, myself as well, right? I don't come from money, I don't come from anything, and maybe you do, but don't use that as an excuse, right? Some people might use that, well, I never had anything bad happen to me. That's what's bad about this. That's the story that you're telling yourself, right? You were nurtured, you were loved, you were like, everything was fine, like, that's what you're gonna use as an excuse, right? Some people will use that as an excuse. They're like, I inherited $1 million and like, I just didn't know what to do with it. And like, I blew it all because nobody taught me. Seriously, some people tell themselves that story. I won the lottery, but I didn't win enough. I won the lottery, but the government took half of it. Okay, right? I got an open house, but it was overpriced and only 2 people came in and it sucked. No, you chose the open house. You didn't even look at the comps to make sure that the house was priced right before you did the open house. It's your fault. You're just telling yourself a different story that it's somebody else's fault. See, everything is our responsibility. You are accountable for where you are. And the minute that we realize that we're accountable 100% for where we are, then we can change it. But until then, we can't change anything. And some of you are doing really well. You want to do better. Great. This is going to help you, right? Then it's strategy, right? Can you implement a strategy, a better strategy, if you're in the right state? Yes or no? See, look, let me show you. All this it's unbelievable how intertwined the psychology is. You guys it's going to blow your mind, okay? So you have the why, right? You have the what. And then what's the last one? How, right? You have the how. So if you know what you want and why you want it, this will come. Yes or no? Meaning this will come. If you tell yourself the right story, you're in the right state, you will find the right strategies. And why? Because you will seek them out, because you're in the right what? Because you told yourself the right about whatever it is, right? If you, in your own mind, your little voice, your little what? Voice. While Michelle was speaking, you had negative things going through your head, but your little voice was saying, but she did it at a different time than I did. It was easier back then. She's saying it's harder. It's easier now, but it's not easier now. It's harder now because there's more competition now, right? Did you see the story that she told herself? What did she say about the economy? The market is shifting. So what story did she tell us about that? A lot of realtors will say, oh man, the market's shifting. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I should probably start looking for other stuff. Investors are saying that all the time, yeah? No, you change your strategy. You can be aware of what's happening, right? But what did she say about the market shifting? That's a good thing. Why'd she say that's a good thing? Because now people are going to need us. In a great market, anybody could be their realtor. Now they need realtors that are actually educated and they know what the heck they're doing. Because if you put a house on the market and everything is selling, you don't need a good realtor. You could just pick anyone out of a box. Yes or no? Yes. Right? So you have to be aware of the story that you are constantly telling yourself about things. Right? When you tell yourself a different story, right, you'll take a different action. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to eat better, right? What story are you telling yourself about what you're eating? Right? How do vegans stay disciplined? Mike? How? Blood, sweat, and tears. Right? No, but
No,
the,
but look, every day is a battle.
right.
It's just which voice you decide.
My
to
name
listen
is Mike, and I'm a vegan.
to.
Right?
Because
No,
people
but
think it's easy.
yeah.
People think it's easy, like just like going to the gym. They think when you go to the gym, it's easy. It's not. Every day is tough. You wake
Right.
up and you tell yourself, no, I don't feel like going today.
Right.
But which voice are you going to listen to?
Right. What's your pain and what's your pleasure of that? Right? What story are you telling yourself about it? Right? Are you even asking yourself? Right? Why am I telling myself this? Having that self-awareness is huge. Because your self-awareness will make you more what? Conscious. Right? If you are being driven by this, then you are allowing the opinions and your upbringing and everything that you've been through and all the state changes and emotional reactions that you've had to all those things, that is what's doing this. If you had a sales job when you were younger, as an example, and you just sucked at it, right? Because you just didn't like the product that you were selling, or maybe the company sucked or whatever, or maybe your boss was not good and they told you you're a horrible salesperson. Now you get your real estate license, subconsciously you might be like, I'm not a good salesperson. Like, I don't like this. Like, I'm not a salesperson. I've heard people say, I'm not a salesperson. Nope. But what story are you telling yourself about a sales? I mean, there's salespeople and there's salespeople. Yes or no? There's like different types of salespeople, right? It's not just like one person. It's not like the dealership guy, that one guy that you met that you were like, ugh, right? That's not every salesperson. That's one salesperson, right? Just like that one girlfriend or that one boyfriend that you had. Were all your girlfriends and boyfriends the same as that person? Are they all the same? No. You just pick one because they're all the same. Right? No, it's more than that. And a lot of it has to do, with being aware that this is a conscious effort. Okay? That's why people talk about self-awareness, but they don't describe it, right, in a sense of, telling yourself a story and then having the state and then having the strategy. If I asked you to write, what do you do? What are some of the things that you're doing subconsciously? I want you to think about it for a little bit. And if you have a notepad or if you have your phone, I want you to think about what are some of the things that you're doing in your life subconsciously or thinking subconsciously that could be negatively affecting your life. I want you to think about that. What are some of the things that you probably are doing subconsciously that are negatively affecting your life, or thinking about subconsciously, a story that you're telling yourself, something. And I'll share one with you. And then you guys can share with me and share with one another. You got one already?
I was thinking about it while you were talking.
What?
The whole bee thing, it just made me think about, it's so much stuff going on, and the bees just like focus on what it needs to do. So with me, in real estate, it's more of, okay, Latasha, you want to do this. This is your niche market. These are the things you need to do as a bee to focus on it, to be successful, and just to forget about all these other things. Like,
Right.
sometimes we get caught in social media.
Right.
We look up, it's an hour. That's wasted time.
Oh, yeah.
To be that bee.
Yep, happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Subconsciously, how many of you use social media sometimes? You find yourself like, how many? Subconsciously.
While you're talking to people.
That's why it's such a successful app, because it's addictive. Because it releases dopamine in your brain when you get likes, when people engage with you. It's a psychological effect. And then it becomes a subconscious effect. Anybody ever wake up and you grab your phone subconsciously? Yeah. What else? If anybody else wants to share while some people are writing. Mike.
Money isn't important.
Money isn't important.
And I think that comes back to culturally how we were raised. That you're not supposed to chase money, and you're not. But gaining money doesn't make you a bad person.
Right.
It allows you to do everything that you want to do for yourself and for others.
Right.
It also enhances if you are a bad person. It just enhances who you really are.
Right. It magnifies
who
what you can do,
Exactly.
what you can accomplish. And if you're a good person, you do good things. If you're a bad person, you do bad things. But some people were brought up with this saying, money is the root of all.
Evil.
Yeah. And the love of money is the root of all evil. When you are sacrificing values to get money, when you are sacrificing your principles to get money, that's called greed. Yes? If I believe in integrity and honesty and doing the right thing, if I'm sacrificing that integrity to get money just to get a deal closed, right? Right? That's the root of all evil, because now they're saying that that money is making you evil. When in reality, you're making yourself, like, you're accountable. Like, because you did it. Yes or no? Right? You had the choice to do this or that. It's like, oh, but there was so much money in that deal. No, that's not okay, because you're going to lose it. If you get that money, you're going to lose it. And if you have the money, you know, some people, there's this quote, I forget by who it is. It says, some people are so rich, all they have is money. Sorry, some people are so poor, all they have is money, right? They're so poor, all they have is money. They have nothing else. They have no love in their life. They have no good relationships. They have no significance. They have no purpose, right? The difference between happiness and sadness isn't money, but money helps you be able to be more significant, right? I can provide more. I can give back more, right? Both Michelle and I are angel donors for Be the Change organization. I don't have a lot of, why? Right, I'm busy. I'm doing stuff like this, right? Instead of volunteering. So what do? I give what? Money, right? So that way the people that have the what, right? There's also money that's needed in that nonprofit, you know? And, you know, that allows me doing the things that I do, right? Allow me to get more money to be able to provide more, right? And give back more. And I don't do it because it makes me, like, feel great. I just do it because I think it's the right thing to do. The other day I was like, oh man, I haven't donated in a while. And I text Dr. Bo, which she's the founder of it. And I just said, you know, sent you $1,000 on Venmo. And she was like, you have no idea how perfect the timing is. And I just got a gut feeling. I was just like, I need to send something. And I sent it. And it was like, you know, if I went out and I spent $1,000 on something, you know, it wouldn't have made any difference in my life. And I gave them $1,000 and it was no big deal. Like, how many of you want to just be able to give more money in 1 year than what to nonprofits, or in time and money, to be able to give all that money, give a lot of time and energy to good causes, more money than what most people make in a year? Who would love to be able to do that? Okay, so what story are you telling yourself? Right? I'll never be able to do that. No, you will. Everybody say, I will.
I will.
Right? You can. Every single person can do it. You know why? Because it's easier to compete against the top 1% than it is the bottom 99. You're competing against a lot more people. You really are. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? So, any questions on some of this? Any questions before I get into this next exercise? Anybody want to share?
John, what do you recommend? So starting with identity and story, right? So do you have anything that you do or have found to be helpful every day that you use to?
Yeah, awareness. More than anything, awareness. Awareness of how it works. That's one of the best things. So I'll tell you guys a quick story on how I was affected subconsciously by something that happened to me when I was a kid. Okay. Some of you know this, some of you don't. Okay. So my parents got divorced when I was, you know, really young. Okay. My mom, at first I lived with my mom, and then I ended up living with my dad because my mom got this boyfriend and he started hitting us, and it just wasn't good, right? So we told my dad, and he moved us to his house, okay? Then when I was 10 years old, it was March 9th, 1996, my dad killed my mom. He stabbed her 12 times until she stopped breathing. And I was a witness to that. I woke up to the screams, I ran into the kitchen, and my dad was on top of my mom, punching her and stabbing her. And I couldn't believe it. This was my dad. And he called my mom over that night and told her that one of us was sick, to get her over to the apartment, because they didn't live together. They were divorced. And he ambushed her and he killed her. Then my dad dragged me to my room, said, wake up your brothers. He put me in my mother's car. My dad wasn't even an owner of a car. He didn't even own a car. He put us in my mom's car. He took her keys, put us in the car. The first thing he said when he got into the car, he said, don't put your seatbelts on. Going 80 miles an hour, he drove us right into a bridge. And he tried to kill us. And we got super lucky. We hit this column, we kept bouncing, and we all survived. We were all beat up. My dad was most beat up. He didn't put his seatbelt on. I got lucky because I didn't listen to him. I put my seatbelt on because I just saw what he did to my mom, and I was scared. And when we crashed, I grabbed my older brother that was next to me, so he was okay. But my little brother was in the front seat. Thank God he didn't go through the front windshield. He went under the dashboard. He broke his collarbone. And fast forward, my dad gets arrested. I testify against my own father. And they sentenced my dad to 40 years in prison. 30 years for manslaughter, 10 years for child endangerment. I was adopted by my aunt and uncle. And I'm super grateful to them. And a subconscious thing that developed in me from having a parent that completely betrayed me. My dad was like my hero. And he took my mom's life, and then he tried to take our lives, his own kids. He put us in a car and drove us right into a bridge. And when things like that happen, as you can imagine, you start to develop walls, barriers, that no matter how close somebody is to you, they will betray you. It's just a matter of time. And that was my subconscious issue. And when I realized the story I was telling myself, the story was, nobody is good. You have to protect yourself from every single person. Because no matter how much they say that they love you, ultimately they will try to destroy you. When I realized that wasn't true, when I realized that my dad was sick, when I realized that when emotions are very high, intelligence is very low, and people can snap, and there's mental illness involved, and there's chemical imbalances, when I decided to not be a victim, that's when everything changed. When I decided not to allow myself to have those walls of saying nobody is allowed to love me, and as soon as they get too close, I will push them away. I would do things like I would just curse people out and be like, I never want to fucking see you again. And it had nothing to do with that person. It had everything to do with my subconscious mind developing these walls and these barriers in my own mind. And if I wouldn't have logically figured it out, I would still be alone today. But because I allowed myself to love, and I allowed myself to be loved, and I realized, wow, you can still smile, you can still laugh, you can still love, right? Because we are reasonable human beings. We can reason things out logically, we can figure it out. And I decided to tell myself a different story. And I decided to tell myself this story. I decided to tell myself that my dad was the victim. And he was. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And I found that out many, many years after, when my little brother got diagnosed with schizophrenia. That's when I found out that my dad actually had paranoid schizophrenia. Because the doctor that took in my little brother, he did the research and he goes, your father was a paranoid schizophrenic. And for years, I didn't believe that my dad was crazy, because he told the cops that he was crazy. He was like, I'm hearing things and I'm seeing things, and I thought aliens were gonna take the kids and my wife, my ex-wife, away, and he was just saying crazy stuff, and I thought he was saying it to get out of prison, because he was claiming to be innocent by reason of insanity, the stuff that we see on movies, yeah? And that's real shit. And when that happened, when I found that out, I didn't have a meltdown, because I realized before that I logically figured out that there was a problem there. There was an issue, even though I didn't know for sure that he was mentally ill. And, you know, he was a victim, and so was my little brother. And, you know, that's like a really deep example, obviously, of, you know, how your whole life could turn out. because of somebody else's decision, but more than that, the story that you tell yourself about the decision that they made. If somebody cheats on you, right? Let's say you're in a relationship. If somebody cheats on you, most people make it about them. It's not about you. That's the story that you're telling yourself. Most of the time it's about the other person. Maybe a little bit's your fault, you know, but most of it is their actions because of their decisions that they decided to do it. They decided to do it, not you. You didn't decide for them to cheat on you. They decided to cheat on you. But you could be a victim of that. You could say, I'm a victim, maybe I'm not a good this, or I'm not a good husband, or I'm not a good wife, or I'm not a good lover, or I'm not good in intimacy, or whatever it is. And you could tell yourself that story and then be alone for the rest of your life. And just think that every man is going to cheat on you, or every woman is going to cheat on you, and they're all the same. That's what I was thinking. And that's crazy, right? To think that one person does something to you, and all of a sudden everybody else is the exact same. It's like what some people think about realtors. Right? This one realtor did this and they're all bad. Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's just the story that they're telling themselves. But everything in your life has to do with this. How you act, how you treat people, how you think, your inner voice is the stories that you're telling yourself. And your state, a lot of times, can be brought back to your story. That's why when somebody's really sad, you're like, hey, what's going on? What's the story? What's going on? Why are you feeling like this? And it's a cry out for help. They're reacting to the world that they need help. And a lot of it has nothing to do with the story they actually tell yourself. They tell you. It has nothing to do with that. It's with something else. It's something deeper, right? So every single one of us have to realize that, where we come from, right, Mike? The family, the culture, that impacts us, right? Some people grow up in a culture of save, 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 save. Yes? They're not ever going to invest any money in anything else because that's how they were. But do you want the same result that they have? And if the answer is no, then well, maybe there's a different way. Maybe it's not just saving. Maybe it's investing. Maybe it's getting more return on our money than just saving all of our money and putting it in our mattress, right? And being, like we're living in the 1800s. Maybe it's more than that. And it's changing that and making the decision for yourself because you are 100% what? Right? The how will come, guys. It's the what, and the why. Why are you doing what you're doing, right? The strategy will come, right? It's you being aware of this, your identity, right? 1 to 10, how do you feel about your skill set? That's your role, right? That's your role. Your skill set is based on your role. Are you guys with me? You might not be good on a presentation. You might not be. If I ask you to come up and be a public speaker, maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable with that and you're not going to be great. That's okay. What's your intention, though? What's your intention? Does that matter? Or does your skill set just matter? Right, your intention is everything, right? That's why I'm probably a good public speaker, right? Or I think I am. It's because of my intention. My intentions are good. I have no bad intentions. They're all good. So I don't care if I mess up or if I curse, because all that matters is the authenticity. It's the intention that matters. That's what you guys care about. Yes or no? It's that you get some sort of value out of something that's real and it makes sense. And that's it. It's not about anything else. Skill set, yeah, engaging, writing on the board with different colors so your brain could be a little bit more activated. Yes, that can all be improved, that skill set, but that has nothing to do with my identity. You have to be a 10. You have to be a what? 10. And that's for you to work on. That's for you to say, I'm a 10. I deserve to be a 10 because, when I'm a 10, I'm going to do better. And then if I mess up, see, accountability is not doing everything great, right? It's not like, hey, at 1 o'clock, you're going to send me a list of this. Are you guys with me? And then you don't do it. No, accountability is you saying, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't get to it. I'll send it to you in an hour. I'm accountable to not having done it. That's accountability. Accountability doesn't just mean do and get things done all the time. Accountability simply means I will take accountability that I'm a sad person and I'm alone by myself. That's accountability. Saying this is because of me. And now you're accountable. Once you're accountable, it's different. Because that story is different now, once you're accountable. You have to change your story if you're going to be the one accountable. Are you guys with me? Right? If I don't make the money that I want to make, and I'm blaming it on the economy, am I ever going to be successful? Only if the economy changes. But then maybe there's going to be another story of why I'm not successful. Right? Why can't you do this? Whatever story that is. Identify your stories. Identify your what?
Stories.
Right, Dave? Like that's how, identify the story that you're telling yourself. Right? Why don't I wake up in the morning when I have to wake up? Why do I hit the snooze button? Identify the story that you're telling yourself. Are you guys with me? Why don't I go to the gym? Why don't I eat better? Identify the story and try to work on it. Right? Be accountable. Be what? Accountable. If you're accountable to that, then the strategy will come. Why? Because if you're accountable, like I had a little bit of a breakthrough the other day about certain things, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be 100% accountable for this, and I told myself a different story, right? I was telling myself I didn't have time to do this, right? It's all about like working out and stuff. I was like, I don't have time, you know, like I've tried so many fucking times to do this. Like I go to the gym, I sign up, I de-enroll, then I sign up again, just like anybody else, yes? And I'm very successful in other areas of my life. I'm very successful in my relationships, I'm very successful financially, but just physically, like just going to the gym and taking care of myself, and I had a breakthrough. Because I was like, let me apply the same principles that I've been using for my business on the stories that I tell myself on what I can and can't do. Oh, John, you can't raise $1 million. I'll never say that to myself. I'm like, what? You can't raise $1 million? You suck if you can't raise $1 million. Like, that's what I tell myself. I'm like, of course you can raise $1 million, right? The building's worth 1.5. Why wouldn't you be able to raise $1 million? That doesn't make any logical sense. Why somebody wouldn't want to lend you $1 million? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. You're going to figure that part out and don't worry about it. Like, I literally don't worry about almost anything because things just work out. Why? Because if your story is right, your state is right, the strategy comes to you. Are you guys with me? And then I started doing that now recently with my health and just saying, I can't tell my story that I don't have the story that I'm telling, I don't have time. I don't want to do it. I'm going to be sore. Who cares? Does it really matter? Like, you're married. Fuck it. No, I can't do that. Right? Are you guys with me? I'm listening to the story that I'm telling myself in my own head, like, and it sounds ridiculous. Yes or no? How can you not have time? You make time for everything else. How can you not have time for your health? Are you going to be able to help people if you don't have your health?
No.
Right? You want to have a baby. What if you're not healthy enough to be there for them? You already have health issues in your family. Like, you don't want to be not healthy. And I told myself a different story. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. And I have a herniated disc in my back. That's another story I was telling myself. Now I'm like, I don't have one. Fuck it.
Okay.
It's just pain. I don't care. I'm just going to do it anyway. Like, I ran for 45 minutes on the treadmill the other day. My back didn't hurt at all. I was like, whatever. And it hurt in the morning. And I was like, it doesn't hurt. And then when it hurts, you know what I say? It's just pain.
Soreness.
Pain is just pain. Like, pain is temporary. Pain is what?
Temporary.
Suffering is permanent. Are you guys with me? Suffering is permanent. If I get sick because I didn't take care of myself, that's permanent. Pain is temporary. Going to the gym is temporary. Running on a treadmill is temporary. I have to convince myself to do things, just like you need to convince yourself to do things. We all can get better. If we get 1% better every day, we're much better at the end of the year. Yes or no? If we miss a day, who cares? The next day, get better. You don't have to make up for the day before. Whatever. Just keep going. Be consistent. Try your best, right? Your state. If you feel your state's going bad, you can change it. You can change it by standing up, shaking it out, right? Yes or no? Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. I don't need to do that here. You know, that's, you know, your state, you control it. That's all that matters. You know, oh, I'm tired. That's the story that you're telling yourself. I need coffee. No, you don't. You don't need coffee. Right? Like today, some of you after lunch were like, I need coffee. Why? Because you have a habit, a subconscious habit, that after you eat, you have coffee. Am I right? Yes or no?
Yes.
But did you really need it? Are you going to die? You going to die? No, you don't need it. You don't need a lot of things. You didn't have that years ago. Things that you need today, you did not have years ago.
Cell phones.
Yeah. Am I right? Yes or no? You know? So remember, your subconscious will dominate you. And it could be a positive thing. If your parents raised you in a way that you're a 10, you're a 10, you're a 10, you're a 10, you're the best, you can do anything you put your mind to. I didn't have that. I didn't have that. I had to change that. But if you had a parent that did that, they nurtured you that way, that's good. That's a positive thing, right? It's not the trophy to everybody thing. That's not what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about rewarding people for specific behavior, but telling them and reinforcing that they could do well. Why? Because that is their identity. Your identity is made up of people's opinions. A lot of it have to do with your parents and all that stuff. And if you've had parents that didn't do that, a lot of the stuff that Michelle talks about, acknowledgement, all that stuff, it's because their parents never acknowledged her. So she desired that so bad. That was so important to her. And it's still important. And how do I know that? That's one of her main love language. If you ever read the book, 5 Love Languages, hers is acknowledgement. She wants to be acknowledged. And every time she does something awesome, I acknowledge her. Why? Because I know that's how she likes it. She likes gifts, I get her gifts. I don't need gifts. Like if you give me a gift, I'm like, cool, like, thank you, that's great, I love you, amazing. But that's not the most important thing to me. I have other things that I desire. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? People desire different things, and you have to be aware enough of where you are. And if you want to change it, then you tell yourself a different story about it, right? And I bet you if I drilled down with it with Michelle, I could convince her, that shoes aren't that important. But that doesn't matter. She's going to do what she wants to do, and it's good. And some things don't need to change about your subconscious because they're not hurting you. Are you guys with me? They're not bad. They're neutral. Some are positive, and some are negative. And that's the only ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about that little voice inside your head. You control the voice. So one way, as a strategy to do this, like physically and logically, you name your voice. See, when you get a pet, like a dog, you name the dog, and that's when that dog is your dog. Right? Anybody have a dog? Okay, keep your hands up. Anybody have a dog without a name? What's your dog's name? What is it? Messi. Toby. Echo. Anybody else? Simba. Okay, great. So, listen. You own that dog. That's your dog. Yes or no? That's your dog. Like you own it. It's your pet. You take care of it, all that stuff. You named it. So if you want to own something, sometimes you got to name it. Right? That little voice inside your head, name it. Who does it remind you of? Who is the little voice inside your head? Who's the negative voice? Who's the positive voice? You can have 2 names. When the positive voice comes out, you could call it God. You could call it Uncle Bob. If you had a really good Uncle Bob that passed away, but all he did was praise you and say, wow, good things. It could be Abuelita, your grandma. Whatever it is, right? You can name that voice. I named my negative voice Rosemary because I worked at a daycare. You guys want to hear a quick story? Yeah?
Yeah.
Or you don't care?
Yeah. Tell us about Rosemary.
It'll make the point. So it's a true story. I worked at this daycare, okay? When I was in high school. I hated high school, right? Because they put me back a grade when I came back from South America. I lived in South America for 4 years. Came here, they said I didn't have gym credits, so they put me back a grade. I was like, are you kidding me? They were like, yep, putting you back a grade. You need to do gym. I'm like, okay, whatever. Right? I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life anyway, college, all that stuff. So I was like, whatever, right? So I was like, how can I get out of school? And I talked to, people, counselors, all that stuff, and they put me in a co-op program. So I would leave at 11:30 a.m. It was like the best thing ever. Right? I would leave. I was used to only 4 hours of school. In Uruguay, it's 8 to 12, 12 to 4, or 4 to 8. You get to choose. How great is that? Right? Okay. It's pretty amazing, right? So now I come here and I'm like, oh my God, 8:30 to 2:30? This is nuts, right? I felt like I was getting dumber every day. And I would leave at 11:30 and then go to this daycare, right? So anyway, I'm working in a class with kindergartners, 20 kindergartners, and I'm the assistant to this kindergarten teacher. It was great. Like the kids, whatever. And the kids liked me, I liked them, it was fun, whatever. Okay? And Then I got promoted, okay? The director pulls me into her office and she goes, hey, I need an assistant manager. I'm like, okay. She goes, there's $1 promotion per hour. I'm like, okay, from $9 to $10 an hour. Great. What do I have to do? She goes, you have to just make sure that we're fitting our student kid ratios, right? So in a daycare, if a kid's 1 year old, you know, there can only be like, you know, 2 other kids with 1 teacher, right? If they're if there's 20 kids, they're probably like 5 or 6 year olds, right? Because one teacher could take care of 25, 6 year olds. It's not a big deal. But if it's an infant, it's 1-to-1, right? So what I would do is go to like the 3, 4, and 5 year olds, and as the parents would pick up the kids, right, we would need less staff, right? Because I would be able to take 4 kids from here and put them over here, right, and then send this teacher home, right? So I would save the company a lot of what? Money, right? That was my job, and I did it really good, right? I thought it was fun, right? No, you're going home, you're going home. And everybody was like, what the hell? Like, I'm getting a lot less hours. And they were so mad at me, all the teachers, because they made hourly wages, not salaries. And they hated me. And I was the only guy that worked there, you know, which didn't really help, right? And they're like, we hate you, you know. Literally, they would say that. And I'm like, whatever, you know, I'm just doing my job. I thought they were joking. They weren't joking. You know, I don't know, I was an idiot. And so I go into the director's office, okay? Her name's Rosemary, okay? You guys still with me? Yeah. Okay. So to give you a little context, this lady, all she did was eat potato chips and drink cherry Coke. I did her job, right? She would literally sit behind the desk. She was like very, very obese, okay? Very obese. And all she did all day long is eat potato chips, okay? And hit on the janitors. Like, I'm dead serious. She was like, we called her the janitor predator. It's bad. And we had proof. It was bad. So anyway, I go in and I go, Rosemary, listen, I'm not into this job anymore. One of the teachers just told me that she's getting evicted from her apartment because I sent her home so many times. And she couldn't pay her rent. And I was like, I'm not okay with this. Like, let me go back to the classroom. Like, I didn't want to deal with it because it wasn't worth it, right? Everybody hated me. And she goes, absolutely not. She goes, you keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Don't worry about all the I'll handle all the teachers. I go, no. Maybe you don't understand. Like, I'm not going to do it anymore. And she goes, what do you mean you're not going to do it? I was like, I'm going to quit if you don't put me back in the classroom. I'll take $1 less. You know, put me back to $9. I don't really care, but just put me back in the other class. And she goes, no, John. She goes, you can't quit this job. And I was like, what do you mean I can't? I'm thinking like the school, you know, they're going to leverage me. They're going to do something where I can't leave. But I was past that already. I was already past the amount of time that I had to put in. And now it was just, I was working there for money, right? And she goes, no, you can't quit this job. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't quit this job? She goes, if you quit this job, you'll never be anything in your life. That's what she said to me, this lady that eats potato chips. And I looked at her and I go, but this isn't NASA. This is a daycare. I said, maybe you're not going to do anything else in your life. I said, but I am. I said, you have my 2 weeks notice. She goes, I don't need your 2 weeks notice. Give me your badge. You're fired. I said, okay, here. Like, no big deal. And I left. But that's why I named my little voice Rosemary. Because how many Rosemarys are out there in the world telling people that they will never be anything in their life? And when I have a little voice in my head that says, you can't do this, I go, shut up, Rosemary. Go back to eating your potato chips. I'm serious, because I named my little voice. And when I name my voice, I own it. That's my voice. I get to own it and I get to tell it what to do, because I get to choose what thoughts I believe and the thoughts I don't believe. The thoughts I want to release. See, some people don't release their thoughts fast enough. They give so much energy to problems, and problems need energy to live. Are you guys with me? They need energy to live. You don't have to give so much energy to problems, right? Give energy to the solution. Give energy to other stuff. Now, I left a couple things out that I want to share with you, which I brought up a little bit before. When you start out, you're invisible. You're what? Invisible. Can you guys understand that? Yes. Right? It's not literally, but nobody knows you, right? So when nobody knows you, you're brand new at a job, you're brand new at a career, how do you feel? What emotions does that bring to you?
Security.
Scared, insecurity, what else? Anxiety, yes? What else? You're new. You don't know what to do. Yeah, you're intimidated. Yeah, you might overthink something, right? That's what invisibility looks like. Being invisible and not, nobody knows who you are. So what's your job when you're invisible? Become visible, good. But how do we, in the beginning, when you get to a job, the first thing, if you get to a job, right? Are you going to be the loud, obnoxious person that goes in there and starts telling everybody what to do? No, you're invisible. You're brand new, right?
Learn.
Right, you're going to learn. You're going to absorb and you're going to serve. Okay, when you're new to a business, you learn. You absorb, you serve. What is an example of serving? Can anybody help me? Shadowing, good. Maybe helping somebody, right? You know what a good thing to do to one of the top producers at Signature Realty is? You ask them, hey, what's your biggest challenge right now? I don't have time to do this and do that. Well, how about I help you out a little bit? And in exchange, right, we talk. You share some ideas with me. Can you do that? Yeah? Yeah. What else? Another way to serve. What about a chamber of commerce? Can you go to a chamber of commerce and volunteer? You're brand new to the chamber. Check it out. I'm brand new to the chamber. Nobody knows who I am. That means nobody knows who I am. So what can I do? I can offer my service. I can offer my time. How can I serve the chamber of commerce? Right? Instead of just going there and saying, I'm a realtor, 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 right? Nobody gives a shit because nobody knows you yet. You are what? Right. So how can we serve? How can we what? Serve. Listen. How can we what? Listen. How can we listen? How can we learn? How can we serve? Right? When you're new at something, how can you serve? Right? It's seek to serve or pay to play. Watch this. I can go to the chamber and be like, hey, what kind of sponsorship opportunities do you have? Now I will become visible. Yes or no? Yeah. Why? Because I paid to play. You can do that. I can be invisible. In the film industry, I was invisible. Then, I went to the American film market in Santa Monica, California. Guess what I did? When there was an opportunity to get on the mic, guess what I did? I went on the mic. I asked a question. And I said, hey guys, we have a film distribution fund, have a lot of money. We're interested in investing. Let me know if anybody here is interested. And if you know anything about the film industry, it's all about the what, right? And we have a film distribution fund, right? And I made a ton of contacts there because I got on the mic and I became more visible. I didn't pay for a sponsorship. I realized an opportunity. Are you guys with me? Right? So sometimes there's, these things that just happen, right? If I ask you to speak, right? That's an opportunity. Right, Mike? Yeah. If I ask somebody to speak at, I've asked people to speak at NJ and they're like, no. Why not? I'm afraid of public speaking. That's the story, right? Where is it? No, it's over here now. Story. That's the story that they're telling. Are you really afraid of public speaking? Or when you were 6 years old, somebody told you to get up and say something, and then all the kids laughed at you, and subconsciously you think you're bad at public speaking? Are you really bad at public speaking? I mean, if you have something to provide a service and you have a why, like Essen, right? Essen goes up. Yeah, Essen goes up. He provides value to people. That's why his bad jokes don't matter. Right? It doesn't matter. Nobody's like, oh, I hate this guy. Nobody's like, I hate this guy. What a bad joke. No, it's actually funny because it's like, it's bad. It's like a bad joke. And actually, he's getting a lot better. So now you got to go back to...
I was invisible.
Actually, that's true. Yes or no? Yeah. And he is. Emergence, right? So reading. That's a way, when you're invisible, to become more visible, to get to emergence. That's what it's called. It's called emergence. You are rising. You are what? Rising. Right? You're rising. Training. You coming here. Is this getting you steps closer? Yes or no?
Yes.
How does your psychology feel right now? Good or bad?
Good.
Good. That's good. That's important. Your state is important. The way you feel has a lot to do with how you end up developing things, those results that end up coming. Okay? Questions. Ask a lot of what? Okay? Some people are telling themselves the story, Jon doesn't have any. Okay, so email me, text me, call me, whatever, we'll do a webinar. Some people are like, Jon has time, I don't have time. Right, they're like, I don't have time. I have kids, I have this, I have a job, I have that. You know, I can't do it. Are you guys with me? Right? Don't tell yourself those stories. Because, look, here's the question. Is the story serving you or not serving you? Right? If you're telling yourself a story that's not serving you, let's change the story that you're telling yourself, because you get to do that. You own the story. You are accountable to your story. You are accountable to your results. You know, Les Brown has a really good quote. He says, the wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard. He goes, because in the graveyard, people leave their ideas, ambitions, and inventions, and they take them to the graveyard with them. And you go to the graveyard and you see all these graves. How many of those people lived up to what they could have been? Not many. Are you guys with me? Right? I saw Dave Ramsey quote the other day, and he said 78% of people die with zero inheritance. 78% of people die with zero inheritance. Like in the US. One of the greatest countries in the world with so much abundance. How is it possible that people live on average till 79 years on this earth and leave nothing behind? No money, no legacy, no book, no knowledge, no educational legacy, no financial legacy. What are we doing with our lives? That's the majority of the population. Do you want to be like that? Then tell yourself that story. Or be different, right? Joining groups, you can serve. But having that seek to serve mentality is beyond just saying, all right, I'm gonna listen. Hey, do you need help? What can I help you with? You know, marketing, right? You post it, tag them, right? There's a lot of people that ask me for stuff, but they go to NJRSN all the time. They don't even market NJRSN. They get the emails, they don't forward it, they never recommend it, but then they ask for my time. And sometimes I'll give it to them. Are you guys with me? But some people don't know how to reciprocate. They just feel like, you have something I want, so I'm gonna ask you for it. Like Michelle, she gets text messages, DMs, you know, whatever, saying, can you coach me? Not, hey, how are you? I see that you have a listing on 10 Frick. I know very high-end people in Alpine, or something. Make something up. Instead, just give. You have, I want it. You should give it to me. I deserve it. No, that's a lack of what? Perspective. A lack of what? They don't have the seek to serve or the pay to play. You know what I've done? Because I don't have the what? To seek to serve sometimes. I don't. Right? When I want something from somebody, I'll just say, can I pay you for your time? Right? I'll pay you $2,000 to sit down with me for one day. I did that. Right? Multiple times in my career. Can I pay you $2,000? And they didn't have a program for it. I asked them, I value your time. I know you're worth something. I have a budget. I know this isn't a lot of money to you, and I know you don't need the money, but if I could offer you $2,000 to just spend a few hours with me, I'd love to ask you some questions, and I think we can have a long-term relationship, but I want to compensate you for your time. That's why when somebody asks me to pay them for their time, I don't react negatively. I'm like, that person values themselves. Are you guys with me? That person values themselves. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, right? A lawyer talks to you for 15 minutes and he's going to send you a bill. Yes or no? Why? Because they're like, I went to school for 8 years. What did you do? I have $200,000 in school loan debt that I got to pay, and you have to pay for it. I can't just give that away for free. I spent money and time getting this degree. Now that degree, my 10 years, you know, for 15 minutes, I get to help you because I spent 10 years. You're not paying for the 15 minutes. You're paying for the 10 years, right? Same thing with Mike. Are you guys with me? You're paying for that, so I don't have to do all that. I don't have to go to school for 10 years to make a contract really good. That's why I'm paying you $2,000 for a contract, right? And that's why attorneys bill you, right, billable hours that aren't real. A lot of times they just bill more hours. Why? Because they're like, you know, it took me 10 years to do this contract. And yes, I have a template, 95% of it, and I'm adding 5% of it, and they spend an hour on it, right, Mike? Mm-hmm. But they bill us how much? For maybe 5-6 hours.
Keep billing
Are you guys with me? No, I'm just saying, like, that's the perspective that they probably have. And you as an agent, you have to have that perspective. If you want to give your time away, that's fine when you're invisible. But what if you're up here and you have a lot of success? You can't just give your time to anybody. Michelle doesn't even take the listings sometimes. She's like, no, I'm sorry. You are very unrealistic about your price. I would love to help you, but at that price, I'm not even interested in the job. And they're like, what do you mean? You don't want, anybody would want this listing. Okay, good. Here's what she says. She goes, give it to them, right? Get a 3-month contract. And when they don't sell it, come back to me and call me. And sometimes they call her. And they're like, you were right. Okay, cool. Are you guys learning something here?
Yes.
Videos. Acquire the skills so you can emerge. Okay? Now look, this goes both ways. Some people are in power. Some people are in what? Power. And they have what? Success. Right? And then, you know, they go back down to stability because they're not doing good. You guys know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. When somebody's going down, what's the first thing that they think to do? To lower their expenses, to fire staff, to get rid of marketing. Are you guys with me? Right? They contract a space. And if they keep going down, right, you have emergency. Does that make sense? Right? And when they're in this is called panic. And some of you, right, when you're emerging, it doesn't feel that way, right? Even though you're in emergence. Why? Because you're not from here. You're not coming from here going down, right? You've made progress. See, progress gives you motivation because progress equals results. Are you guys with me? See, you could have a better emotional state. Trust me. You can have a better emotional state going from here to here than some people that are going from here to here. Think about that. You might be investing more in your education and marketing and whatever, going from here to here than this person here to here. Because they're like, uh-oh. You know, and that's not the time to do that. That's not the time not to spend. Are you guys with me? This is the time to invest. Time, money, energy, yes or no? Yes. Seek to serve and pay to play. Yeah, you got to get a billboard. It's going to cost you more because you can't do 100 billboards. Like, you know, the reason why Dukansky can do so many billboards is why? Because he does so many of them. But how did he get there? He's made a lot of investments, yes or no? Right? That's the thing. With 30 grand, you can get 100 billboards for 2 months, basically. It's pretty good, right? That's not bad. $30,000, how many listings do we really need to get that money back? 30,000? How many do we need? 6? If I have 100 billboards, I should probably get something. And if it's happening over time, it's even better. Yes or no? Okay. He paid to, there's no seek to serve there, right? It's just pay to play. It's like, I'm going to be everywhere. Here's the money. I want to be everywhere. Okay. Now, some people go here, go here, go here, go here, and then boom, it's gone. Right? They lose all the money and they go back down here. Why? Because subconsciously they're used to chaos. They're used to what? Chaos. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I say chaos? Like there's a lot of stuff happening, your mind's all over the place, you have a lot of anxiety. Raise your hand. Yeah? Okay. Can you really succeed in that environment? So what do we have to do?
Change the story.
We have to change the story. That's right. And then we have to keep going up. Right? Happiness is throughout, right? Passion is throughout all these areas here. Now here, in order to go from emergence, right? Emergence to stability. Now stability, do you guys know what this means? Stability means that you're paying the bills and you're making money consistently. That's what being stable means. That's called certainty, which is a human need. Certainty is a human need. Uncertainty is also a human need. You need to have some variety in your life. If you don't have any variety, then you get what? Bored. Good, boredom. Are you with me? And if you get bored, what happens? You start doing other stuff. You start doing other ideas, right? If you get bored in your relationship, that could be a problem. Yes or no? You could start telling yourself a different story. So you got to change the story that you're telling yourself. Are you with me? Right? And you have to realize where you are. Okay, it's the same thing in business. You might be like, I'm doing the same shit over and over again. These damn open houses. This is boring. Buyers, same crap, same excuses, same bullshit. Guys, am I right? And then you could get what? Bored. Like you could be making money, but bored out of your mind. Bored out of your mind, right? So what do you have to do? And then you have a different strategy, right? You can test and measure to get out of that. Why? What's working, what's not? You know, what's making me bored? Well, the fact that I'm just dealing with these boring buyers that always want the same exact thing and they always have the same excuses. Great, well, change how you qualify your buyers. Test, tweak, measure. Yes or no? Yep. Can you go from being Mr. Park Place, like Michelle was, Miss Park Place, to Miss Springfield, to Miss Westfield, to Miss Union County? Michelle's like Union County. She's #1 agent in Union County. But she's luxury. But she's Union County. Right? She's evolved. She's what? Evolved. Right? But we have a $17.9 million listing in Alpine and a $10 million listing in Englewood and another $6 million listing in Englewood. Right? And a $3 million listing here. Why? Because she's evolving. She's what? Evolving. She's evolving. Right? I wouldn't be surprised if she takes over Chatham and she attacks Bergen County. Right? Because Bergen County's big what? Big money, which will help her become #1. And what story does she tell herself? What's her identity? 1 or a 10? Right? No, it's a 10. Right? Test and measure. Test and what? Measure. So what do you need to test and measure if you're there? See, if you're here, you're invisible, so you know what to do, yeah? You need to learn, you need to read, you need to seek to serve. Good. We need to learn, educate, whatever. Do not what? Right? Because you are not in what? You're not. You're not coming from here down here. Now, some people are, but do not panic. Okay, that's not a good idea. Okay, then we keep going up. How do we go up? We test, we measure. Okay, goals, metrics, action, focus. If you lose focus, you will lose profits. Are you guys with me? Mike, I have this problem, right? I have too many things happening. I'm like, I need to focus. I need to focus. I need to focus. I need to no, I can't do that. Nope. Great idea. Shut up, John. It's like a soap opera. We make soap operas in our own minds. Yes or no? Yes. Right? Some are healthy, some are funny, some are unhealthy. You need to recognize which ones they are. Are they hard to recognize?
No.
Are they? No, you know which ones are sabotaging. Yes or no? Yes. Everybody say, I know. I know. Turn to the person next to you, give them a high five and say, you know, you know. You know, you know. Okay. Goals. Okay. Emergence. Is it good to come in with some sort of strategy? Yeah? Yeah, it's nice. But why is more important. So I sat down with Carlos. Do you mind if I share a little bit? So I sat down with Carlos, been an agent for a couple of years, successful, doing good, right? But feeling a little bit like, okay, where do I go next? What can I do? Right? So, you know, I asked him a little bit about, you know, his life. You know, what does he do? Whatever. So he's buying a 2-family to live in. Okay. He's got a couple other 2-families, a couple other multifamilies. Okay, so you like multifamilies. Yeah, I like multifamilies. You know, so what is he going to focus on? Why? Because he can live and breathe that, and his eyes lit up. He started smiling for the first time I've ever seen it. And he was like, yeah, that feels right. See, when something feels right and you're like, that's what I want to do, right? It's not necessarily like, okay, I live in Hillsborough, so I should just do Hillsborough. Maybe it's not just that. Maybe there's something deeper because you're deeper. You're a deeper person. Does that make sense? You might be deeper than just saying, I want to do this. Some people, it's okay. Like if I focus on an area and I dominate this and I get acknowledged and I get rewarded, that's something that's important to me. And I'll do it that way. Are you guys with me? Some people need something more niche. And I feel that was the missing link for that specific scenario, and it can be for you too, categorically, right? So what I'm saying is that the strategy came from his why, and the why came from what he's already been doing. He's like, okay, buy a multifamily. Why'd you buy a multifamily? Why didn't you buy a single family? You can afford a single family. Well, let me tell you, super passionate about living in one unit, renting the other one, building wealth, so I have more money to buy more multis and get my passive income up. Well, are you the only one that should be doing that, or is there other people that should be doing that? Other people should be doing that. Okay, great. Why? Right? That's his strategy now. Are you guys with me? So why? What? Right? The why is, well, you know, this is where I'm at. This is where it came from. This is why it's important to me. Financial independence. I don't come from money. I think it's important that I teach other people what I've learned, blah, 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 all those good things. Everybody got it? Mm-hmm. Right? That's the what? The multifamily. That's the vehicle. That's the what? Vehicle. That's the vehicle. Right? And now the strategy comes. Why? Because if you're focused on multifamily, you start thinking of your videos. How can I help multifamily? What are the objections that they have? So what are they? Tenant screening, this, boom, boom, boom. Are you guys with me? Right? All these different things, it just comes because you're like, this makes sense. I can go to Property Owners Association because they do multifamily. I could, you know, partner up with this lender. Instead of partnering up with any lender, I partner up with the lender that focuses on, multifamily properties, right? And now things start to happen. If I want to focus on veterans, I focus on somebody that really knows VA loans. Yes or no? Yes? Hello?
Yes.
Good. Action. Metrics. Should we keep track of our metrics to be able to get past this? Yes? Okay, good. And then focus, right? Just focus. Pick something, focus. Pick something, focus. Prove it to yourself that you can do it. Even if you're like, I'm not 100% that this is going to be my forever thing, prove to yourself, right? It's not my forever thing to just lose, X amount of pounds. That's not my end goal with my health. Are you guys with me? But let me prove it to myself. Let me get there. Why? Because then I get those results, and that results gives me momentum because that's progress. Got it? It doesn't have to be like this, oh my God, I need to be national multifamily guy. No, it could be in a geographic area, multifamilies. Let me prove it to myself that I can do X amount of units. And then it could be mission oriented. It could be what? Mission oriented. My mission is to help 1,000 tenants become homeowners. Now it's mission. Now it's deeper. Now, hey, what do you do? My mission, what I do is I help tenants become landlords and homeowners. That's different than go, hey, what do you do? I'm a realtor. What do you do? I'm a plumber. Nice to meet you. Oh, tell me about that. What do you mean you want to help 1,000 tenants become landlords? What do you mean? Gets the conversation going. Now you have something to talk about. And are you going to be passionate about that? Yeah, because it's your why. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. Right? It's like now we're feeling it. Now that passion's coming out, and the strategy is going to come, and the results are going to come from that. Okay? And you're not going to be what? Bored. Because you're what? Happy. And you have passion. Everybody got it? Yeah. Story, strategy, state. Great. How do you break through? Right? When you build a team, do you have to have good culture? Yes. Do you have to have systems? Mm-hmm. What about accountability? Yes. Right? Higher level of accountability there, yeah? Why? Because you're not just holding yourself accountable, you're holding a manager accountable to holding your team accountable. Or your team. Now you have to be a leader of a team, not just a leader of I. It's easy to lead me, but now I need to help other people tell a different story to themselves when they come to me. Now I need to lead, and if I can't lead, I have to hire somebody. I have to be smart enough, are you guys with me? Right? That if I don't have the time or want to do that, I want to just focus on this, then I need to put somebody in that position. It's okay that I'm not every position on the football team, that I'm just a quarterback, or I'm just a receiver, or I'm just a blocker. That's cool. You don't have to be every position in a company. How can you be? How dare that you demand that of yourself? And look, at the end of the day, if you want that position, great. Be curious. It's new to you. Go back to learning. Go back to absorbing. Leadership, books, videos, trainings. Why not? It's a circle, right? We're all evolving. Am I right? Yes. Right? We're all always evolving. How many of you have gotten really good at something and now you're doing something new? Raise your hand. You're back to being by choice, or by necessity, or by... Okay? So how do we get to power and success where we're just heading up and up and up and up, right? It's that accountability, management, focusing on that niche, having the systems, and then of course all these things, just doing them right. Just getting better and better at testing and measuring, everything over here, just getting better and better at everything. You need systems if you want to get better than just stable income and pay the bills. Yes or no? Right? Meaning you're going to have, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, I need you to do this. Okay? Again, your identity, is that important? Yes. Right? Whatever you do, your role here today, are you a 10?
Yes.
Okay. Are you acting like a 10 all day today?
Yes.
Yeah?
Story, I changed my story. Yes.
I'm asking. Yes. I'm just asking. No, your role is different than your identity. Your identity could be a 10. Did you take as many notes as you could have today? Did you listen as intently as you could have? Did you raise your hand? Did you do everything that you possibly could at a 10? I don't even think I did it. Are you guys with me? Yes. I don't think my role was a 10 100%. I think it went good, but I don't think I gave a 10. I think I would have to yell a little more. Okay? We have to master the little voice. Okay? Master the voice. If you get mastery of the voice, it will change your life. It will change your family. It'll change your legacy. it'll change everything. It'll change the ripple effect that you make in this world if you just master your inner voice. And by being conscious of your inner voice, you can master it. You can name it. You can master it. You can train yourself. How many of you are open to mastering your inner voice and training yourself? Raise your hand, let me see. Okay. How many of you like the fact? Good, good, good. How many of you have believed that the psychology aspect of our success is vitally important? Right? We could go into all the strategies, but if your mind's not right, your identity's not right, your story's not right, none of that stuff matters, right? Because you're going to self-sabotage yourself in ways that you don't even realize, right? You have an open house, you have a great lead, one person closes it, one person doesn't. Why? Is it just the skill set, or is this the state? Is it the subconscious? The subconscious is bigger than the conscious. Yes or no? So what are you doing subconsciously that's affecting that buyer? If you don't like the house and you're trying to sell the house, subconsciously you don't like the house, you don't think it's a good house, you know that there's damage in the house, subconsciously you're not going to sell that house. They might be like, I kind of like it, but I have a weird feeling about it. And you're going to be like, what do you mean? You're that feeling because they're reading you. No, I'm right. They're reading you. How do I know this? Because the last year that I worked at Fortune Builders, I didn't do good. When I was selling their coaching program from stage. Why? Because I didn't believe in what they were doing anymore. I didn't believe in how they were doing it. They completely changed how they were doing things. They weren't keeping all the promises that they promised people that they would do. And unfortunately, it's a subconscious thing. Guess what? I was doing the exact same thing from stage though. I would teach the same exact topics, teach the exact same things, but the results were different. See, when your mind is right, when you feel good about what you're doing, when you feel good about what you're offering, that means everything. Your genuineness, your authenticity. It's easy to sell something that you are proud of, that you are happy about. Yes or no? Like Essen, right? You have a good product. You know that you're not going to put anybody in a bad product. He switched me out from like higher quotes that I know he could have made more money on, but he decided to go with a much lower quote, going, no, let's go with this, or let me try one more before you decide on this. And because he's doing the right thing, right? And that's why he can be confident about what he's doing. You have to be confident about what you're doing too, okay? Any questions? Mike.
Does proximity go through that whole process as well?
Proximity, I mean, I think...
People who are in a better, like to people who you're supposed to mirror or use as examples, that starts from the invisible stage all the way through to power.
All the way
success,
through.
right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you could be here and then you meet somebody, right? Because you seek somebody out. You know, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. You guys might be the students right now. And you appeared, right? You just got here. You just got here. A couple of you just got here, right? Some of you, you know, we haven't done, you know, we don't do this every time, right? Because I don't want to exhaust you guys, right? But, you know, yeah, absolutely. I mean, proximity and power just means that you want to get close to people. There's two ways to get close to people. How many? Seek to serve. Pay to play. Yes or no? I can pay to get close to Tony Robbins. $65,000. I can. $65,000 for the year. I can get close to Tony Robbins. It's just money, right? You can give something up, okay? I partnered with Tony Robbins' partner. He's part owner of one of my companies. I'm 1 degree away from him. But I didn't do it because I wanted to get closer to Tony Robbins. I did it because I like this guy. I think he's great. So what did I do? I gave him a percentage of my company, right? And said, I want you to be a partner. And I didn't charge him any money. And he was like, what? He goes, you're seriously going to give me 10% of your company? I go, absolutely. He goes, why? I go, you tell me. And he was like, because I'm going to help you. And I was like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. And that was a really strategic move for me. Are you guys with me? Okay. And that's what? Pay to, right. Instead of buying his time, I gave something of value. Sometimes it's exchange of value, right? If there's a top producer in another area, or if there's another agent in another area, maybe you can call them up and be like, hey, you're a top producer, I'm a top producer. How about we talk? I give you some strategies, you give me some strategies. We're not competition. You're in that area, I'm over here. You're in Florida, I'm in Jersey. You're in Boston, I'm in Jersey. I reached out to a broker, I'm paying him $1,000 a month in Boston. His name is Anthony Lamacchia. I paid for a bunch of his programs that he's created online, and guess what I'm doing with them? I'm gonna do weekly trainings with his videos, and he was the #1 realtor in Boston, and he's got a great system for it. Now, I'm not egotistical in the sense that I have to do everything. Are you guys with me? Right? He did that already. Like, why am I gonna reinvent the what? Right? So I paid to what? Paid to play. Am I gonna call and be like, hey, you're a broker, I'm a broker, you have systems, I have systems? No, you already have a program, it's easier, I don't have to spend any what? Pay you, get that, deliver the value, that's it. And I know the value's there because you guys are gonna learn from him, and then you're gonna get more, you're gonna be more successful, and if you're successful, I'm more successful. Yes or no? Right, that's called seek to what? And pay to. Right? There's a million ways to do this, right? So, any other questions? Great, give yourselves a round of applause. Go ahead.
Listing boxes come in.
Very soon. Yeah, very soon. It's a video box. It's actually a video box. Yeah, and listings. And actually, Mike's working on listing packets for us, where it's going to be bound packets with everything, and you can also probably put them on your iPad and sign stuff depending on the app that you have, and then just send them to the clients. Is that pretty cool? Where you could just take the pen and here, sign it. And it's going to have everything that you need, right? For GSMLS and for CJMLS, but GSMLS also can be sent to almost all the other MLSs, so you can use that listing agreement for all of them. But everything will be in there, all the consent documents, everything, agency documents. Is that pretty good? Right, same thing for buyers. So we'll have both of those ready really, really soon. Okay. I was going to go over reducing your tax liability. It's been a long day, so we're not going to do that. I have a video of that. I'll send it to you guys if you want to watch it. You can take a look at it. It's for people that are making over $50,000 a year in gross commission income. That's when you can really start to save about $10,000 a year in taxes by setting yourself up correctly. If you guys need an accountant, let me know. Our accountant is really good. His name is Bob. I just got audited by the IRS, and there was zero change. What does that mean? That they audited me, and they didn't make one change. Not $1. Is that pretty good? Yeah. Right? So pretty confident in how we do things. The reason that we got audited is because I was changing a lot of stuff on how Michelle did her compensation for herself to save a lot of money on taxes. And the IRS guy was like, wow, I've never seen anybody do this way, but it's legal. I was like, it's damn right it's legal. I was like so nervous. I was like, oh my God. Okay, one thing that we're doing, something a little bit different, kind of like a behind the scenes thing. So if you guys want to share some words, his name is Anthony. Everybody say hi, Anthony. And of course, Joshua Productions with Joe. If you guys want to share anything, maybe he'll ask you some questions. If you're willing to do it, if you have a few minutes, that'd be great. And we have like a lot of food and pizza, so like don't leave it here. Like if you have kids or whatever at home, family, whatever, just take it, because we're not going to eat it. Okay? Thank you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Thanks, Jon.
No problem. No problem. Good stuff.